Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Captain Mike and this is the Free Spirit Sailing Project. Well, I'm going to do a week-long series of updates with Hurricane Kiko that is on the way to Hawaii, and I've got a big problem. I found an issue on my boat before I left last week. I actually came back home to the Big Island. The boat is on Oahu, and I actually found a problem with her mooring lines, and I was going to come back to it because I wasn't too worried about it in regular weather, but with a hurricane approaching, I've made a really quick decision to fly back to Oahu tomorrow morning and fix the boat so she's nice and solid and she doesn't come off her mooring next week. Let me give you kind of a quick shot here of what's going on. It is obviously beautiful out. It is Thursday, and we're expected to see effects and winds from the hurricane on most likely Monday. So we've kind of got a whole weekend to prep here. Let me give you a nice shot here of the east side of the Big Island, and directly at Kiko. Kiko is less than 1,000 miles directly there. And you can see there, that's Hilo Bay. Gorgeous day. No surf, a little bit of wind. We had some rain this morning. But again, I am in a time crunch. I need to fly over to Oahu tomorrow morning, get on the boat, make a bunch of epoxy repairs. I need to wait for that epoxy to cure. Then I need to drill to kind of give you an idea of what the problem is on the front of the boat, there's two bow lines that go to the mooring, and there's kind of a guide, and then there's a metal bar that it's all the stuff that's designed to stop chafe. When a boat is on a mooring constantly moving, there's the potential for the lines to chafe through. And so if those two pieces, they're extremely loose. I found that they just have screws into the boat. There's no backing plates, they're not through bolted with nuts, and so it's all moving, but there's a lot of downwards pressure, so it kind of wants to stay there, but when it does fail, that fiberglass underneath is going to turn into a saw, and when it turns into a saw, it'll probably saw through within a day, especially in hurricane conditions. All right, let's jump on the computer, take a look at the models. I'll kind of show you guys what's going on, and I'll also kind of show you a little more in depth what's going on the boat. I'll show you those parts, and we're gonna get it figured out. We're gonna jump on a flight tomorrow morning. I'll take you guys with me. All right, let's go look at those models. Okay, so before we look at the charts, let's take a look at what's actually going on. So there's a cleat here, and obviously this is we're at the dock, so we're not tied up to the mooring. So there's a cleat here. Um, with an eye, and then that goes through this chalk right here. And there's also a metal protector underneath on the rail. These two, both of those pieces, the chalk and the metal rail, are loose. And there's downward pressure. The line goes this direction, right, out to the mooring. There's downward pressure, constant downward pressure. So they don't really want to pop off, but the potential is there because they're just screwed in, and the screws are super loose. It's all just kind of wiggling. It's staying there, but I would not trust it in a hurricane. So that's what's going on. Let's look at the charts. Okay, so we're looking at the National Hurricane Center and the Central Pacific Hurricane Center website here. Let's first look at arrival times. So today is Thursday. So we're about right here. Let's see, wind speed right now is about 74 miles an hour. And so she's continuing to move kind of northwest. There's a low pressure system up here which pulls in other low pressure, right? So it kind of wants to go north, and that's kind of what's pulling it into the islands. So you can see here like Friday, Saturday morning, Saturday evening, and then Sunday into Monday, we're getting real close to feeling winds on the tropical storm force winds on the Big Island. And so Big Island is right here, Oahu is right here. Obviously this isn't, completely accurate, but close. let's see, wind speed probabilities. So these kind of yellow bright colors are 40 miles an hour, so you can kind of see plus or minus right there. Let's see what else we can look at here. Warnings. Yeah, this is kind of more the same kind of location expected. So here's Monday, here's Tuesday. Again, Thursday is today, so this is the latest update. Really does look like it's going to slam right into us. Maximum sustained winds 130. It's moving at 9 miles an hour currently. So definitely nothing to mess with here. Let's look at some of the messages here. Kiko is forecast to approach the Hawaiian Islands during the early to middle portion of next week. Direct impact from wind and rainfall is increasing, but it's too soon to determine the exact location or magnitude. So there's, yeah, lots of change that could still happen, but we're going to get affected in one way or another. There's just no way she's just going to turn at this point. All right, I'm gonna look at my extra wood scrap pile here, and I may actually use one of these pieces of 4x4 and see if I can't. So what I'm doing is, I don't know if I have a good example, but I'm having to put a backing plate into the 90. So basically, the boat, if my hand is the boat, it's kind of at a 90, and I got to put a backing plate into there. So I'm going to cut it this way across, so I have a flat part to put a washer and a nut against. So that's kind of my approach. I know that it's kind of interesting because there's two different things going on. There's the rubbing strake, that's that thin piece of metal in the corner, but there's also the bow chalk, which the bow chalk is from the top. Okay, so in theory, this will be one of my backing plates that will fit into that nook. So, because it's where the deck meets the side of the boat, so it'll go into there, and then the bolt will go in diagonally and hold it in there, instead of it just being screwed into the actual, boat.